Hey everyone, welcome back to the Native Speakers channel. I'm Sarah, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. We've got a critical topic to dive into, one that is going to resonate with so many of you out there. So please grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's have a real conversation about something that affects all of us at some point in our lives.
Thanks, Sarah, and hello to all our listeners. Today, we're tackling something that I know hits home for a lot of people, myself included. We're talking about people-pleasing, and more importantly, how to stop doing it. Our topic is Stop Pleasing Others, the ultimate guide on how to focus on yourself. This is going to be good.
Oh man, Johnny, where do we even start with this one? I feel like people-pleasing is something we've all struggled with at different points. I know I definitely have. There's this constant pressure to make everyone happy, to say yes to everything, to never let anyone down.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, we often don't even realize we're doing it until we're completely burned out and resentful. It starts so innocently, right? You want to be helpful, you want to be liked, you want to be seen as a good person, but then suddenly you're saying yes to things you don't want to do, you're ignoring your own needs, and you're living your life according to everyone else's expectations.
That's exactly it. And I think a lot of people confuse being kind with being a people pleaser. There's a huge difference. Being kind means you care about others and you help when you can. Being a people pleaser means you sacrifice your own well-being, your own boundaries, and your own happiness just to avoid conflict or rejection.
That's such an important distinction. Can you break that down a little more? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They think, well, if I stop people-pleasing, doesn't that make me selfish?
No, not at all. Let me put it this way. When you're being genuinely kind, it comes from a place of abundance. You're helping someone because you want to, because you have the capacity to do so, and because it aligns with your values. You're not expecting anything in return, and you're not doing it out of fear. But when you're people-pleasing, you're operating from a place of fear and scarcity. You're saying yes because you're afraid of what will happen if you say no. You're worried about being rejected, abandoned, or judged.
That's so true. And that fear-based decision-making is exhausting. I remember going through a phase where I would agree to every social invitation, every work project, every favor someone asked of me, and I thought I was just being a good friend, a good employee, a good person. But really, I was terrified of disappointing people. I was terrified that if I said no, they'd think less of me or stop liking me.
How did that turn out for you?
Terribly. I ended up completely burned out. I was running on empty, I was irritable, I wasn't doing my best work, and ironically, I wasn't even being a good friend because I was spread so thin. I was physically present, but mentally and emotionally checked out, and the relationships I was trying so hard to preserve, they actually suffered because I wasn't showing up as my authentic self.
That's the paradox of people-pleasing, isn't it? You think you're strengthening your relationships by always saying yes, but you're actually weakening them because you're not being genuine. People can sense when you're not being authentic, even if they can't quite put their finger on it.
Exactly. So let's talk about how people can identify if they're people pleasers. What are some of the signs?
Oh, there are so many. One of the biggest ones is difficulty saying no. If you find yourself automatically saying yes to requests before you even think about whether you actually want to do something or have the time for it, that's a red flag. Another sign is constantly apologizing, even when you haven't done anything wrong. People pleasers say, "I'm sorry," all the time, almost like a reflex.
I used to do that. I'd apologize for things that weren't even my fault, or for simply existing in a space. Sorry to bother you, sorry to ask this, sorry to take up your time. It's like I was apologizing for being alive.
And that comes from a deep-seated belief that your needs and wants are less important than everyone else's. Other signs include feeling responsible for other people's emotions, avoiding conflict at all costs, seeking constant validation and approval, and feeling resentful after agreeing to do things. That last one is huge. If you find yourself agreeing to something and then immediately feeling angry or resentful, that's your inner self screaming at you that you've crossed your own boundaries.
That resentment is really the canary in the coal mine, isn't it? It's your emotional warning system telling you something's wrong, but a lot of people pleasers ignore that signal because they think the alternative, saying no, is worse.
Absolutely. So let's talk about why people become people pleasers in the first place, because I think understanding the root cause can help people overcome it.
From what I've learned, a lot of it comes from childhood. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love and approval were conditional. You learned that being good and accommodating meant you got attention and affection, while expressing your own needs or saying no led to punishment or withdrawal of love.
That's a big one. Children naturally want to please their parents and caregivers, but in some families that gets taken to an extreme. There's also the cultural aspect. Many cultures emphasize collectivism over individualism, and while there's nothing wrong with valuing community, it can sometimes lead to people completely suppressing their individual needs and desires.
And let's not forget about societal expectations, especially for women. Women are often socialized from a young age to be accommodating, nurturing, and selfless. They're praised for putting others first and criticized for being selfish if they prioritize their own needs.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. The number of times I've been called difficult or demanding for simply having boundaries, while men who do the same thing are seen as assertive and strong leaders, it's incredibly frustrating.
That double standard is real, and it makes it even harder for women to break free from people-pleasing patterns. But regardless of the cause, the important thing is recognizing the pattern and deciding to change it. So let's get into the practical stuff. How do you actually stop people-pleasing?
The first step is awareness. You can't change a behavior if you're not aware you're doing it. Start paying attention to how you feel when someone requests something of you. Notice your automatic response. Do you immediately say yes without thinking? Do you feel a sense of dread or obligation? Do you check in with yourself about what you actually want?
That self-check-in is crucial. Before responding to any request, you need to pause and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this? Do I have the time and energy for this? Is this aligned with my priorities and values? And here's the key. These are the only questions that matter. You don't need to have a good enough reason to say no.
Yes, you don't need to justify your no. No is a complete sentence. Of course, in most situations, you'll want to be polite about it, but you don't owe anyone a detailed explanation or excuse. A simple, I can't commit to that right now, or that doesn't work for me, is sufficient.
But I think for people who are just starting, saying no can feel absolutely terrifying. Do you have any tips for making it easier?
Start small. You don't have to go from people-pleasing to boundary setting overnight. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations first. Maybe it's declining a social invitation you're not excited about, or telling the waiter that your order is wrong and asking them to fix it. These small acts of self-advocacy build your confidence for bigger situations.
I love that. And another thing that helped me was having some prepared phrases ready to go. When someone asks me to do something and I need time to think about it, I say, let me check my schedule and get back to you. That buys me time to really consider whether I want to commit rather than giving an automatic yes.
That's brilliant. And it's also perfectly acceptable to say, I need to think about it. You're allowed to take time to make decisions. You don't have to respond immediately to every request.
Now, what about the guilt? because I think that's the biggest obstacle for most people. Even when they manage to say no, they feel absolutely terrible about it.
Guilt is such a common experience for recovering people pleasers. But here's what I've learned. Guilt is not the same as doing something wrong. Guilt is just an emotion, and like all emotions, it's temporary. When you say no to someone, you might feel guilty, and that's okay. Feel the guilt, acknowledge it, but don't let it dictate your actions.
It's also important to remember that feeling guilty doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. Your brain is used to the pattern of people pleasing, so when you do something different, it sounds the alarm bells. That discomfort is actually a sign that you're growing and changing.
Exactly. And the more you practice setting boundaries and saying no, the less guilty you'll feel. It's like exercising a muscle. The first few times are hard, but it gets easier with practice.
Let's talk about the fear of conflict, because I think that's closely tied to the guilt. A lot of people pleasers avoid saying no because they're terrified of how the other person will react.
This is such an important point. Yes, some people might be disappointed or even upset when you say no, but here's the thing. Their reaction is not your responsibility. You can't control how other people respond to your boundaries. All you can do is communicate your limits clearly and respectfully.
And honestly, if someone gets angry or vindictive because you set a reasonable boundary, that tells you a lot about them, not about you. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, even if they're initially disappointed.
Absolutely. Healthy relationships can survive disappointment. In fact, healthy relationships require boundaries. If a relationship can't withstand you saying no occasionally, it's not a relationship worth maintaining.
That's powerful. I also think it's worth noting that when you stop people-pleasing, you might lose some people from your life. And that can be scary, but it's also necessary.
That's true. Some people are only in your life because you're useful to them. They like the person who always says yes, who always drops everything to help them, who never challenges them or has conflicting needs. When you start prioritizing yourself, these people might pull away. And that's actually a good thing. It creates space for relationships that are reciprocal and genuine.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about what focusing on yourself actually looks like. Because I think some people here focus on yourself and think it means being selfish or self-absorbed.
That's a fair concern, but focusing on yourself is actually about self-respect and self-care. It means paying attention to your own needs, feelings, and desires. It means making choices based on what's right for you, not what other people expect of you. It means investing in your own growth, health, and happiness.
And when you take care of yourself, you're actually in a better position to show up for others in meaningful ways. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say. When you're depleted and resentful from overextending yourself, you have nothing left to give. But when you're well-rested, emotionally balanced, and living in alignment with your values, you can be genuinely helpful and present for the people you care about.
That's such an important point. Self-focus isn't about ignoring others or being self-centered. It's about putting your own oxygen mask on first so you can help others more effectively.
So what are some practical ways people can start focusing more on themselves?
One of the first things is identifying your values and priorities. What actually matters to you? Not what you think should matter or what other people say should matter, but what genuinely lights you up and makes you feel fulfilled. When you have clarity on your values, it becomes much easier to make decisions that align with them.
And that means saying no to things that don't align with those values, even if they're good opportunities or would make someone else happy.
Exactly. Another important practice is regular self-reflection. Set aside time each week to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What do you need more of? What do you need less of? Are you living in a way that feels authentic to you?
Journaling can be really helpful for this. Just writing down your thoughts and feelings without censoring yourself can provide so much clarity.
Absolutely. I'd also add that focusing on yourself means investing in your personal growth and interests. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because it would impress someone or because you felt obligated?
That's a great question. People pleasers often don't even know what they enjoy anymore because they've spent so much time doing what everyone else wants.
Right, so try new things, revisit old hobbies, take a class in something that interests you, read books that expand your mind, travel somewhere you've always wanted to go. Give yourself permission to explore and discover what brings you joy.
And set boundaries around your time and energy. This is huge. You need to protect your personal time the same way you'd protect an important business meeting. Schedule time for rest, for hobbies, for doing nothing at all.
Yes, and don't let other people guilt you about your downtime. You don't need to justify taking a day to relax or saying no to plans because you need alone time.
What about dealing with people who don't respect your boundaries? Because that's going to happen when you start making these changes.
This is where consistency is key. The first time you set a boundary, people might test it. They might push back, guilt trip you, or ignore the boundary entirely. Your job is to calmly and firmly reinforce the boundary. Don't get defensive or over-explain. Just restate your position.
And if they continue to violate your boundaries after you've clearly communicated them,
Then you need to consider whether this person deserves access to your life. I know that sounds harsh, but your boundaries are non-negotiable. If someone consistently disrespects them, they're showing you that they don't respect you.
that might mean limiting contact, ending a friendship, or even cutting ties with family members in extreme cases.
It might, yes. And that's okay. You're not obligated to maintain relationships that harm you, even if those relationships are with family. Your mental health and well-being come first.
Let's talk about self-compassion too, because I think that's essential for this journey. Changing ingrained patterns is hard work, and you're going to mess up sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. There will be times when you slip back into people-pleasing mode. Maybe you say yes when you meant to say no, or you apologize unnecessarily, or you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, even though you promised yourself you wouldn't. When that happens, don't beat yourself up about it.
Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a good friend. Acknowledge the slip-up, learn from it, and move forward. Progress isn't linear.
Absolutely. And celebrate your wins. Every time you successfully set a boundary, every time you say no without excessive guilt, every time you choose yourself, that's worth acknowledging. These might seem like small victories, but they're actually huge shifts in how you're showing up in the world.
I'm curious, Sarah, as we wrap this up, what would you say is the biggest benefit you've experienced from stopping people-pleasing and focusing more on yourself?
Oh, wow. There are so many. But if I had to choose one, I'd say it's the sense of freedom. I no longer feel trapped by other people's expectations or opinions. I make choices based on what feels right for me, and there's something incredibly liberating about that. I also have more energy because I'm not constantly overextended, and my relationships are actually deeper and more authentic because I'm showing up as my true self.
That's beautiful. For me, it's been self-respect. When I people-pleased, I didn't respect myself. I treated my own needs and wants as less important than everyone else's, and that took a toll on my self-esteem. Now, by honoring my boundaries and prioritizing myself, I've developed a much healthier relationship with myself, and that's changed everything.
I love that. So, for anyone listening who's struggling with people pleasing, I want you to know that change is possible. It won't happen overnight and it won't always be comfortable, but it's absolutely worth it.
Start small. Practice self-awareness. Learn to say no. Set boundaries. Focus on your own values and priorities, and be patient with yourself through the process.
You deserve to live a life that's true to you, not a life designed to make everyone else comfortable. You deserve to take up space, to have needs, to say no, and to prioritize your own well-being.
And remember, you're not responsible for everyone else's happiness. You're only responsible for your own. When you accept that, everything changes.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Johnny. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up today's conversation. Thank you all so much for joining us on the Native Speakers channel. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message.
And let us know in the comments, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to people pleasing? Or if you've successfully overcome it, what helped you the most? We'd love to hear your stories.
Until next time, take care of yourselves, set those boundaries, and remember that focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's essential.
See you next time, everyone.